Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of All in the Mishpacha. Here's this week's Mishpacha magazine, Healthy and Whole, Dr. Shmuel Mandelman. For some reason, they always get it wrong. You know, the things I talk about are not the cover story. It would be fitting if they actually, the most intriguing articles they should put on the cover. And I believe in this issue, this article is definitely the most intriguing. Let's make a deal here. It's not clear. Let's make a deal. See how it says, question, what do a financial planner in Edison, New Jersey and a posek in Beitar, Israel have in common? Answer, everything. So this is about Yissachar-Zevulun relationship. I actually did an episode about Jewish money where I interviewed someone who actually took upon himself this initiative on a personal level. He didn't have an organization doing this. He has brokered numerous Yissachar-Zevulun partnerships. I interviewed him in Jewish Money about, you know, the different aspects in terms of what do you look for a Yissachar, the person learning Torah, you know, and different questions about the arrangement, practical questions. And I read this article. It was hard to get through most. It was a long article, and it wasn't that interesting. But what I do want to talk about is the concept of Yissachar-Zevulun, because there are a couple of things that I read which are very interesting and provoked my thought. For example, in the middle here, he said, what's the basis of Yissachar-Zevulun relationship? Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his Osah Baracha, he says, Smach Zvulun b'seisecha v'Yissachar ba'olecha. Rashi relates that Zvulun traveled abroad on merchant ships, using his profits to feed his brother Yissachar, who studied Torah. The Torah places Zvulun's bracha prior to Yissachar's, highlighting the unique role of one who facilitates Limud Torah. The Midrash relates that 200 Hezes and Hedron were direct descendants of Yissachar, and the merit of their learning is attributed solely and completely to Zvulun. Now, this is interesting, Midrash. No one ever tells you this fact, that the Midrash says that the entire schus, the entire reward for learning of Torah goes to, not Yissachar, it's Zvulun. Zvulun paid, enabled Yissachar to sit and learn without worrying about getting a job or any financial difficulties. And Zvulun got all this schar. Now, when I did my interview with this person, I asked him, you know, what's the negotiation? Like, how do they split the schar? There's three different opinions. One opinion is they split the reward for the learning 50-50, which makes sense, you know. The other opinion was that the person learning gets 100%, and the person who's paying for his learning gets 50%. Okay. Doesn't really work out mathematically. And there was another opinion that didn't work, that made even less sense, that said both of them get 100% of learning. So I don't know how that makes sense either. The only one that makes sense logistically is 50-50. If you add it up in math, we have to account for math in the world. It's a real world. But this midrash seems to say that it's 100-0, which also works mathematically, that 100% of the schar goes to Zvulun and 0% goes to Yissachar. Now, many people, when they're, you know, thinking about Yissachar-Zevulun relationship, and especially the Yissachars, because I know I was one of those people that was, you know, learning full time, and I wanted, a couple of years ago, I wanted to learn for the rest of my life uninterrupted, obviously, but I would never give away or even risk giving away 50% of my schar. You know what that's doing? You know, people who take upon themselves the life of learning Torah and sitting in kollel, they know it's a difficult lifestyle. Not only difficult for them, but it's even more difficult for the rest of their family, which have to, you know, shoulder the responsibility of raising a family and sustaining a family on very little money and going to debt and poverty. It's easy for the person learning. He just goes on the bus to the mirror every morning, comes back at 8 o'clock at night, leaves at 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, has decent food in the mirror, whatever they give him. And his wife bears the burden of dealing with 11 kids and also, you know, dealing with the finances. You don't have time to deal with the finances. So it's not a bad life for the person learning in the mirror. It's not bad. You get that 1,000 shekel check every month, roughly $300. But for the wife and the family, it's really difficult. I'm not sure the family feels it so much because they are used to it, but for the wife, it's really hard. But even for the person learning, it's hard not to have extra money to spend, you know, when you need the money, even if you neglect and you don't want the physical comforts of this world. There are necessities that you need in life to live. And who doesn't like, you know, a piece of chicken for dinner, you know, instead of, you know, pasta every night. So it's a difficult life, but you know going in, the reason you're giving up on the gashmias, on the physical world, is because you want all the schar that you're going to get right? Even if you're doing it lishma, you're doing it lishma solely to serve God, not for the reason. But in the back of your mind, come on, you know you're doing it for Olam Haba. That's why you're doing it, right? So to give up 50% of that reward just because someone's sending you, and the average amount they're sending you is $1,500 a month. That's around 5,000 shekel. That's minimum wage here in Israel for one person. It's not that much money. The max is like $3,600 a month in Israel. Okay, 10,000 shekel, 12,000 shekel. It's pretty good. It's decent. You're not going to live a luxurious lifestyle, but it'll definitely keep you menuchas nefesh, keep you learning without worry of financial burden. But who would give that? Who in the right mind would give it up? But apparently, the Rabbanim have talked about this, and they actually have, from the perspective, one of the Yissachars talking. Most of this article is focused on the Zvuluns, the people that buy into this agreement, because they see, the reason they do that, most of them admit, is because they see bracha in their life. They see that whatever they give, they get back twofold, threefold. So they're all interested in doing this. Even they're struggling. A lot of these people, Zvuluns, are not philanthropists, not rich people. They're people that are regular people. They just want to have more bracha, more parnasa in their life, and they get more parnasa usually. You know, I'll talk about it a different time when I believe it's correlated. I don't think there's a correlation between one and the next. It happens to be coincidence, I would say. So they asked one of the Yissachars, you know, why would you even go into this? So here it says, from the other side of the Shender is Rav Svi, an esteemed Talmud Chacham, who hadn't heard of the program until he was approached. He says he was impressed with the fact that the money is purely a transfer between two men, but not to cover expenses. He did grapple with joining, he explains. The truth is, it's hard to understand why someone would make such a deal. It's like an artist reluctant to part with one of his paintings. My Torah is part of me. It's my everything. I should agree to sell for some income? It's like cheapening it, right? The Ramah's Lashon, when I looked it up, was astounding. The Zvulun, the one supporting Yissachar, is as if he himself is learning. Torah says you need to make yourself a midbar, to distance yourself from things in order to acquire Torah. Yet if someone is in the business world and owns houses and cars, he is still considered a midbar if he is a supporter of Torah, and he too acquires the limit of Torah. It's an incredible thing. Imagine if everyone realized that with their money they could acquire the nitzchias, the eternity of hours of learning. Rabbi Yechiel and Jordan tapped in to this, and it's tremendous. Rav Moshe Feinstein writes that you can't view the contract as selling Olam Haba for money. You can't sell Olam Haba. Rather, it's like a car that needs to get over a bridge and the Zvulun fills its tank, or a soldier needs to go on to war. The Zvulun is the weapons maker. He's necessary for the process, as necessary for the process as the Yissachar is. And he brings from all these people, he says, I researched it, read that Rav Moshe Feinstein wrote on the content, really, this isn't B'Ever, this is in Staka. This is lechatchila, an amazing thing to be part of. Why is it lechatchila? Because you're facilitating this Zevulun, right? And being able to learn. He's in the business world. He's living it up. He's earning big money, or maybe he's not earning such big money. He wants to earn more money, and he can't learn Torah. Once you're in the business world, you barely have time even for your family. So you put some money aside. You send it to Yissachar. You got your learning. You got, lechatchila, mahudr type of learning, where these people are learning the Zohar, and some of these people. When I spoke to this person, I interviewed him about the Yissachar-Zevulun partnership. He said he looked for the diamond in the rough. Yissachar is hard to find Yissachar, right? You only have, 10 people willing to support somebody. You got to find the best of the best. You got to find someone, who's willing to put in 15 hours a day. He's waking up, tikkun chatzos. He's learning at the chatzos kollel at night, staying up the entire night and learning. People like that, crazy schedules. Those are the people that he's looking for, because they're going to give the maximum return to Zvulun. So, according to all the posts, Moshe Feinstein, it's lechatchila. There's even a star here. There's a picture out here. There's an official document over here. I'm not going to read all the words over here. Smach Zvulun. It's called. The Chazon Ish came up with a star. It says that I am giving such a amount of money, in order this person, the Yissachar, should be able to learn without worrying. And all his learning and his chidushim that he writes, right? Now, it's a very ambiguous language. They split it, they each get 100%. I don't know exactly what it means. The more he gives, the more money you give, the more scar you get. And by doing this, you'll see B'nei Banim Oskim B'Torah, your children, your grandchildren will delve into Torah. And you'll have Arichas Yamim V'Shanim, and you'll be healthy, of course, all these things, richness, Osher Ve'Osher, being fortunate and rich, everything, all the blessings in the world. You get the schar, and you get all the blessings. Your kids will find shidduchim easier. You'll have health until 120. You live 120 till 120. So this is the best of both worlds. Everything is great. Everything is rosy. Everything is peachy. But I mean, when I thought about this after reading this article, I'm like, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make any sense. First of all, like I said, without this person telling me why Yissachar would be willing to do this, because he's making himself like a midbar in order to, the Zvulun is making himself like a midbar in order to, he's assisting Zvulun get schar. So he's the chachila for him. And for some reason, you can't sell your olam haba. We'll discuss that in a second. Could you sell your olam haba or not? You can't lose in this situation. Like this person I interviewed says, most poskim say 100. He gets 100% of this card. He gets 100% of this card. What kind of deal is this? So it didn't add up logically for me. So, this pasuk smach zvulun Yissachar b'alecha sounds like it's good. Zvulun, you should be happy. Moshe is blessing them at the end of the Torah. You should be happy going out to the ships, to other countries, to earn your money. Yissachar b'alecha, it doesn't say smach Yissachar b'alecha. It says Yissachar b'alecha. Yissachar will be in the tents. It doesn't say they'll be happy in the tents, or they're going to get reward in their tents, right? So that's a little curious. But then I looked at the brachas that Yaakov gave to his sons, and I was curious. I remember the psukim. I was a Baal Koreh for this part of the Torah one time in my life, and I remember vaguely the psukim. So I looked them up. And Yissachar, how does this describe Yissachar? Yissachar chamar gorem roveitz ben Mishpacha. It says chamar gorem. In yeshivish world, they say chamar gorem is basically someone who has a lot of books. He knows a lot of Torah, but he doesn't know how to understand the Torah. He learns Bekiyas, he doesn't know Be'in, he doesn't understand the Torah properly. Roveitz ben Mishpacha. So he has all these books on his back, or he has a heavy weight on his back, the financial burden that he's carrying by learning in Torah all day. Roveitz ben Mishpacha, he's crouched down, he's trying to hold himself up. And what does the next pasuk say? Vayar menucha ki tov. He saw that the menucha, the resting, the aretz kinaima, he saw it's pleasant, it's peaceful. I can learn the menuchas hanefesh. I can take the money. Vayet shichmo lispol ahi lemas oved. And it says he leaned over. Shichmo is really your shoulder. He took the package off his shoulder, the burden off his shoulder, right? Because now he's getting assisted by the money of Zvulun. Vayehi lemas oved, right? If you look at Rashi over there, he gives an interesting explanation, but the simple explanation, mas is a tax, oved is an eved, is a servant, and those are not good things. And the truth is that you get both curses if you're a Yissachar, truthfully. And that's what Yaakov said. You get, not only are you an oved, right? You become an eved, because like the Medrash says, the Zvulun gets all your schar, right? You're Yissachar, right? So I understand if you want to learn Bial Kol Avrech and learn and have a difficult materialistic life because you gave up the materialism, getting a job and earning a living, in order to sacrifice it for a spiritual existence for you and your family. I can understand that, and you try not to take tzedakah. Hopefully, you won't be able to get by without taking tzedakah. It's very bad to take tzedakah. You don't take tzedakah at all, even if you're marrying your fourth daughter off to the best guy in Panovich. You somehow manage. Okay, that was your choice. You gave up materialism for spirituality, but you bore a burden, bared a burden. It was difficult for you. You don't get lafum sara agra. It says in Pirkei Avos, right? According to the pain is the reward. Vayar menucha ki tov, aretz k'na'ema. Right? It says by Yaakov Avinu that Yaakov wanted bikesh leishev v'shalva. He wanted to have peace of mind. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent him different tests with Yosef, right? Because he says, Daya in the Olam Haba, that's when you'll have your rest and reward. But no, Yissachar wants it already in Olam Hazeh. He wants it. Yeah, give me this Zvulun over here. I don't mind. I won't worry about finances. He'll pay for my life. My family, my wife won't complain. She'll have enough money to buy bread at the store, to buy pizzas even, and I'll be able to free to learn 15 hours a day. I don't have to come home at all. She'll have all the food she needs. Doesn't have to complain about the grocery, the bill at the grocery store. Everything is very great, but the Torah tells you the truth. The Torah, the Medrash, first of all, tells you that, first of all, it makes sense. The Zvulun facilitated your life. He worked hard, right? He worked hard, and he gave of his money, which is stuck on money. Why not stuck on money? It's not only stuck on money, it's stuck on a horas keva here in Israel. It's basically, when you pay on a plan that it comes out every month. Here they ask you for tzedakah. They don't just want tzedakah one time. They want you to give tzedakah every month to whatever kollel or institution you're giving to, because, you know, it's nice to have a monthly income. So you can pay the mortgage on your bill. So it's like the you know, the Torah says, terrible, don't take tzedakah. Don't take tzedakah, right? Don't be nitzarech lebrios, right? You're not supposed to give too much tzedakah because you might have to take tzedakah from somebody else. Taking tzedakah is the worst possible thing. But this is 10 times worse, or 12 times worse, or 1,000,000 times worse. Where you're saying, I'm taking tzedakah, horas keva, I'm getting a monthly tzedakah check. That's what it is, essentially. You know, you can dress it up all you want in the words of the post-game Rosh Feinstein or whatever, but let's call a spade a spade. What's happening over here is you're taking tzedakah horas keva. You're taking tzedakah on a fixed, you know, budget for a month, and that's really what it is. Yeah, I'll have an easy life in this world. I'll get 100% schar my learning. He's going to 100% schar my learning. No. The Medrash says Zvulun gets all the schar. He's the one that worked. He's paying for your learning. You don't have any difficulty in life, right? You just get sitting and learning is very easy. I'll tell you, you can make it hard for yourself. You could try to learn Be'i, and you could be an Avrech that really learns all the Sidorim, but there's no deadlines. There's no tests. You don't have to take tests. You don't take a Dirshu test if you don't want to. You know, you don't have to take tests. You don't have to become a rabbi. There's no deadline. There's no pressure. It's not life. Life, from the moment you enter school at the age of first grade, you got tests, you know, and when you finish whatever schooling, high school, college, you know, medical school, whatever it is, you have tests. And then you go into business, you got deadlines. You got to make deadlines. There's pressure in life. Life is difficult, right? But when you're learning, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to Mesiras Nefesh and learning, and I put in many years of Mesiras Nefesh, but at the end of the day, it's not so hard, right? If you don't feel good one day, don't come, okay? You're not feeling well. If you feel like you have a headache, go get a coffee, schmooze with some guys in the lobby. Even the best of guys, you know, even take it seriously. Not having a responsibility, not having a deadline is not part of the human existence. That's not what we're supposed to do as human beings. And ultimately, really, our conscience really tells us that we always have to make decisions, right? That's the biggest deadline of it all. You know, nothing to do with what your boss is telling you to do a report by a deadline, or your school, you know, tells you have to hand in a thesis by a deadline. You know, you also, you know, you have to answer to your conscience, which is the most difficult. But that's what life is. So when you're signing up for this Yissachar-Zevulun pact over here, the Zvulun's getting all the schar, and Yissachar's losing all his schar. Now, getting back to this idea whether you can actually sell your Olam Haba or not, the reason the poskim say you can't sell your Olam Haba. Now, there's two ways to approach this. There's two ways of understanding Olam Haba, right? We get schar. We know we do mitzvahs. We learn Torah. We do mitzvahs. We get schar. We get a reward for that. So there's two ways of understanding it. The reward is the reward like dollars and cents. The more mitzvahs you do, the harder you work, the more Torah you learn. You get millions or billions of dollars in the bank. And then when you get to Olam Haba, you can buy certain things. You know, there's expensive cars there. There's expensive houses. There's expensive women over there. So you can allocate your money because you have a lot of money in the bank. It's in the bank. That's one way of understanding it. If that's the way of understanding it, so why can't you do a deal with that, right? Why can't I give up my Olam Haba by selling it? I have millions of dollars in the bank. That's basically the transaction over here. You're giving me money, physical money in this world so I can buy groceries. And I'm giving you my spiritual money that it can be used in Olam Haba. So we're exchanging physical money in this world for spiritual money in the next world. Or you could learn like the idea of the Shema, which I think there's a story with the Vilna Gaon, right? Where someone came to the Vilna Gaon and there was no esrogim or whatever. It was very hard to find nice esrog in Europe, Eastern Europe. He had a beautiful esrog. He was offering the Vilna Gaon. He said, I'll give it to you esrog, but I want all your schar Olam Haba. The Vilna Gaon happily gave it to me. He said, the first time I had a chance to Mekayim a mitzvah completely the Shema. Right? That's what the Gemara says, that you should ultimately do Torah mitzvahs, what l'shma, just for the sake of the mitzvah itself, without disregarding the reward. It's not to say there is no reward. The Vilna Gaon thought there is no real reward, meaning if there really was a reward, he wouldn't give it up. It'd be stupid to do that. You know, it's hard to live a lifestyle of being, you know, abstaining from this world. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. So you're doing it on the hope that you're getting the reward, even if you say Shalol Lishma, the highest level of Shalol Lishma, but you're going to get a reward. You're just not having in mind for the reward. The Vilna Gaon understood it literally that the idea of Olam Haba is not you're earning spiritual cash, spiritual dollars or euros. The idea of Olam Haba is the madrega you reach, where you are as a person. You know, the more Torah mitzvahs you do, and the more nisyonos, the more trials and tribulations you overcome, that makes you a greater person. And the greater a person you are, meaning Olam Haba, whatever pleasures there are in Olam Haba are not bought with money. It's not like going to Yerushalayim and using your Meiser Shani Sheni money to buy things in Yerushalayim. It's just the degree to which you're shalom and complete is the degree to which you'll enjoy whatever is in Olam Haba. Olam Haba is complete. It's filled with endless taivas, endless enjoyments. You know, I'm going with when I'm talking about this, assuming that there is a physical aspect, that Olam Haba is a physical reality. Some people say, like the Rambam, Victor Miller said this, that, you know, basically Olam Haba is they give you a stender and a Gemara, and if you like learning Torah, you learn. If not, it's Gehenim for you. I don't think that's the pshat. The Rambam maybe says, but every other region on Achron says it's a physical enjoyment. But it's a physical enjoyment, but the degree to which you're a shalom, which you're complete. And the more shalom you are, the more of a complete person you are, the greater you've withstood the challenges of this world. So then you'll be more shalom and more able to partake of whatever's in Olam Haba, to experience whatever's in Olam Haba. And that, I think, is the correct explanation. So, assuming that's true, right? So, when you're doing a Yissachar-Zevulun partnership, you're taking staka over here. You're taking staka b'horas keva over here. There's no shleimus over here. You only occur. Stuvum Sara Agra. Pirkei Avos says, if there's pain, there's reward. If there's no pain, you don't become more complete. By signing what? You took a Parker pen, the guy's Parker pen, and you had to abstain from using the Bic pens, right? You were makbid and only use Bic pens in your life. You didn't want to go into the luxury, be a luxurious person and use the Parker pen. But the Zvulun came over. He said, use my Parker pen to sign. Oh, man. I have to give in to my taivas over here. And he used the Parker pen to sign. So, so he gave into his taivas. He used the Parker pen to sign. And now he's Yissachar. He overcame nisyonos. He overcame challenges in his life. No, it's not overcoming challenge. That's exactly what the pasuk says. Vayar eretz kitov eretz menucha vayar menucha kitov eretz kinaema. It's easy, right? I get to learn for free. For free basically. If someone's paying my bills, my wife's happy. She doesn't have, she doesn't get refused at the grocery store. And I get to learn uninterrupted the rest of my life without worrying about finances, without worrying about debt. Most of these people will still be in debt anyway. I mean, 12,000 shekel a month is not going to help you forever. Even that's the luckiest Yissachar they get. But at the end of the day, it's not shleimus. It's not becoming. You only become more complete when you overcome difficulties in your life. By getting a tzedakah on a fixed amount of tzedakah every month, that is not making yourself more complete. So whichever way you understand the concept of Olam Haba, you're losing out big time as a Yissachar. And that's really what Yaakov Avinu was telling his son, Yissachar. Yissachar might be the biggest Lomdei Torah in the world, but if you're not... Limud Torah is a nice mitzvah, but everything has its time and its place. And when you're supposed to learn, you have to put maximum effort into your learning. You're supposed to do mitzvahs. You're supposed to put maximum effort into doing the mitzvahs. But to just do it, when it's good for you, and when it's not good for you, don't do it, and not have to worry about financial burden and take tzedakah, which is the worst thing. It's tzarich lebrios. And that's the second point why it says lamas ofe, because you read this article, they talk about these Yissachar-Zevulun partnerships. A lot of the Zvuluns, they want Yissachars that speak their language. He didn't want an Israeli because he only speak Hebrew. He was from America. He wanted to speak to the person, right? Because some of the people, they use them to ask questions too. Some of the people, when one of the people in the article said his grandfather was sick, he asked his Yissachar to daven for him. And the Yissachar said, I'm getting up before Nates. He davened in Nates before Nates, and I'm learning saying Tehillim or whatever. And the grandfather got better, apparently. So, and they talk to you whenever they want, and you have to fly in. They fly you in. You become, it's not just Ovid, it's not just you're an Eved, you're a Mas. You're paying a tax. The tax is that you always have to be at the beck and call of this Zvulun. You have to do whatever he wants, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the way the world works, right? If you take, anyone who takes favors from other people, you can't refuse, right? If you're learning in Kollel and your parents are supporting you, your grandparents or your in-laws are supporting you, and they say, we want you to come home for Pesach. I don't want to come for Pesach. I don't like the atmosphere. You want to go in a hotel for Pesach? It's going to be terrible for my kids. They're going to see this terrible environment in the hotel for Pesach. All this gashmias, the Seder ends at 11 o'clock. It's terrible. You got to go because someone's doing you a favor. That's the way the world works. Someone's doing you a favor. You gotta do it. And that's the truth. The truth is told by how you react when someone makes a demand of you, right? If it was really a fair agreement, right? Yissachar is giving some of the schus of the Torah to the Zvulun. He could say, no, I don't want to go help daven for your grandfather. I don't want to go fly in when you want me to. I don't want to get up early because it's a fair deal. We signed a deal, but that's not the way it works. The truth of the matter is that it's evident to both people, it's evident to anyone who witnesses this transaction from afar before signing on the dotted line, is that it's a favor. He's giving you a favor. He's giving you stuck on a fixed basis every month, and you got to do whatever you can because he's doing a huge favor for you. So you're not only Ovid, not only are you an Eved, you're a servant. In the end, in Olam Haba, you're a servant. You're not a person who earned your shleimus, an Eved. That's the worst thing, It says in Mishpacha, Eved Ivri and Eved Knaini. Those, I once heard a drasha from a big rabbi here in Israel. He was in America at that time. And he said that an Eved Ivri is the greatest thing a Jew could ever aspire to. Being an Eved Ivri. The Parsha Mishpatim, it says Eved Ivri. Eved Knaini, guess not, because it's not Jewish. But Eved Ivri is the highest because we're supposed to be Oved Hashem. We're supposed to worship God. We're supposed to be Oved Hashem. The problem is you look at Perkei Avos and it says Ein Bein Chorin Al Misha Osek B'Torah. So what do we, Mitzrayim? He says Mitzrayim became Bnei Chorin. You're supposed to be a Ben Chorin. You're supposed to be an Eved Hashem. Which one is it? So the answer is, the way I believe is that the mitzvahs you don't do ultimately for Hashem. It says in the Aseret HaDibros, it says mitzvot sav, right? And Lishmor mitzvot sav, I think, in one of the Aseret HaDibros, and you read it mitzvot sav like Hashem's mitzvos, but there's no yud over there. And the ksiv, the way it's written, is mitzvah so. It's your mitzvah. It's actually your mitzvah, and that's really the truth. The truth is that you're supposed to do the mitzvahs for yourself, ultimately. You can start off doing it for Hashem, but Hashem really wants you to do it for yourself. And that's the shleimus you get. The shleimus you get is because you care about doing the Torah mitzvahs because you feel this is important for yourself. And that's not being the Eved, that's being a Ben Chorin. The highest level is to be Ben Chorin. It might start off as being an Eved Hashem. Eved Hashem is for starters because there has to be certain, if you're just saying, I'm going to do things for myself, there's too many pleasures in this world. You're going to start taking things that are not really good for you, that you really don't want, right? So you have to, at one point in your life, detach from that and be Oved Hashem. Do things not for myself, for Hashem, and maybe do things for other people. But ultimately, the real goal is to come back to the point where I do everything for myself, but I pick out those things that are not really good for me, I really don't want, because it's very hard to discern what I really want and really don't want. Things look very tempting, and they really think I really don't want. So there's a point in abstention for a certain amount of time, but then to come back and to realize that everything in this world is created for you, right? B'shvili nivra olam was created for you, and that's really the point of the Torah, to come to. And if you're going to take Yissachar-Zevulun, you'll always be an Eved. You'll always be an Eved, and you'll always be paying a mas, a tax to this person that is doing an eternal favor for you. So I don't highly recommend Yissachar-Zevulun partnership. Anyone who thinks about being Yissachar immediately feels guilty. I know if I would even consider that, I disseminate so much Torah. I would never give up, even according to one opinion, give up 50% of my schar. Is it worth it to get a fixed income? I'd rather live in dire poverty than give up 50% of my scar. It doesn't make any sense. You feel guilty about it, so you know it's the wrong thing. That's what I like to say about this. Hope you enjoyed. See you next week.